Eden Zero, from the creator of Fairy Tail Mashima. They had created a new series, and unsurprisingly not a lot of people were hyped about it. Fairy Tail already gets a bad rap for not being a good anime, which I mostly disagree with. I mean, I don't think it's amazing, but people hate on it a bit too much. Most people just hate on it because it's the popular thing to do when they didn't watch the series for themselves. The best way I could explain it is if Fairy Tail and Space Dandy had a baby, if you watch either of those shows. Fairy Tail was one of the first shows I watched, but currently it isn't near my favorite animes, like at all. Like, I still haven't completed the final season because I just lost interest in it at that point. But back then I thought it was the best thing ever when I watched it. And I guess out of some self-obligation, I decided to watch Eden Zero. I wasn't expecting it to be a phenomenal show or to blow me away or anything like that, and it doesn't, but it's good at what it's trying to do and acknowledges it's not the most complex show with the deepest characters. If you're that type of anime fan that needs a show to have super complex stories or something to enjoy it, this show isn't for you. While I do enjoy those type of shows, this isn't half bad either, which is what I want to do with this video. Tell my opinion on Eden Zero and why it's actually not half bad of a series, and you might want to consider picking it up. Before that though, remember to like and subscribe for future anime videos. Alright, so first I will give a basic rundown of the story. So our main character Shiki grew up on planet Granbell, and on this planet the only inhabitants are robots. He was not born here, however. While his true origin is unknown at this point, he was brought there to be raised by this adoptive father, the Demon King, who was also a robot. He was taught things like reading and writing from him, and life lessons. He was also the only human on Granbell, so he brought it upon himself to fix everyone whenever they may get damaged or something. He lived with the robots happily, and they never treated each other differently because one was human and the other was a robot. Then we cut to the start of the story where Rebecca and Happy land in Granbell. They are confronted by some robot monster thing, which is when Shiki comes in to rescue them. Shiki is surprised because this is his first time meeting someone who is a human, or any other type of species honestly, because all he knew were robots. After saving them, he brings them to their town where they throw a celebration party for them as they don't get visitors often. The next day, however, we find Rebecca and Happy tied up by the robots and they try to execute them. The reason being was to steal their ship and get revenge on humans for abandoning them on Granbell. Apparently they were affected by a virus that allowed them to think for themselves, which is what led to this happening. And as Shiki tried to convince them out of it, they tell them how their relationship with him was also fake and that they actually hate him as well. And when Shiki mentions how he fixed him multiple times, they say how that is also not really true, saying they were programmed to act like they were fixed by him, when in reality they were fixed by some auto repair system, saying that humans and robots can never be friends because of how they were abandoned when they had no more use to the previous humans, admitting that the only reason they didn't kill him was because he was the Demon King's adopted son, which is when they proceed to start beating him in the street. At first he doesn't fight back because he's still in shock after thinking that they were his friends this whole time, but after a while he is convinced at what they are saying and fights back to protect Rebecca and Happy. After fighting them off and escaping, they leave Granbell, the only place that Shiki knew as home his whole life, which is when Shiki sees space for the first time. Astounded by all the planets and space dragons, he decides to go with Rebecca across space. Before that though, we cut back to Granbell where we learn what was really going on. The Demon King, before breaking down, told the town's robots that they needed to send Shiki off because the planet's battery that supports their function wouldn't last much longer, and if he stayed while that happened, he would stay forever trying to bring them back. So to make sure he wouldn't come back, they waited for someone to visit with a ship, and then had Shiki believe that they were his enemy so he wouldn't return. They did it for Shiki's sake and future, so that he can live a happy life, and that's more or less what happened in the first episode of the anime. I didn't expect it to start out like that honestly, but the way it was executed was well done. Compared to Fairy Tail's introductory first episode, this had a lot more going on in it. It gave us a quick rundown of all the main characters and set us off to start the story, and with how the story progresses, it is also good. The further down we go, the more and more we get revealed, and how everything is somehow intertwined with each other. It feels like Fairy Tail but doesn't at the same time. It feels like Mashima is taking that classic feeling of what Fairy Tail had, but is building on it with new elements. It feels the same in a good way. Basically a modern take of Fairy Tail, but in space. It's fun to watch is what I used to describe Fairy Tail as well. It's not that crazy deep story wise, at least so far, but who knows, maybe it will surprise me down the road. It's still too early to make that call, but it's still enjoyable to watch, and I find it hard for someone to really hate the show for what it is. It acknowledges its use of things like fan service and even jokes about it sometimes. So if you have shown interest but just decided to skip on it because you heard Fairy Tail is bad, give it a shot. It's similar, yes, but also seems to be doing its own thing. Personally, I don't think either are bad at all. Don't just dismiss this show without giving it a genuine chance, because more likely than not, you'll find some sort of enjoyment in it. They aren't close to my favorite animes, but people don't give the series enough credit. So yeah, this series is worth watching, I'd say, for anyone deciding if they want to pick it up or not. Yeah, that's basically all I had to say, so hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and that's all from me. Peace.